Hi, this is Dave Shields, and I'm coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, and Kenosis Counseling Center. Today, I want to talk to you about depression and hypochondriacs. And it's important to know right off the bat that depressed people just don't make it up. They're often sick, and they may complain about different physical ailments, and they're not weak, and they just don't make the stuff up. The research is clear. Depressed people suffer from several physical ailments. In the literature is clear on that. So the first one that we often see in depressed people, and one that I struggled with mightily in my struggle with depression, is fatigue. And it's not just being tired from doing an activity. It is that bone-crushing fatigue, and sleep doesn't help. And depression sufferers often struggle with sleep anyway. And even if they get a full night's sleep, they often do not feel refreshed upon waking. And so that bone-crushing fatigue is always there with depressed people. It's rare to find somebody who has clinical depression who doesn't feel fatigue. Another area that depression sufferers struggle in physically is with upset stomachs. And with an upset stomach, they often struggle with nausea, keeping food down without wanting to regurgitate, or oftentimes they have loose stools, or they're stopped up. Sometimes they go to the medical doctor for this, and they're diagnosed with things like inflammatory bowel syndrome, IBS, and other things, and they may be treated for those things. But once they're diagnosed with depression and are treated successfully for depression, often those other issues that were diagnosed will go away. It's fascinating. Depression sufferers also struggle with back pain, and that's not made up as well. They often struggle with not migraines, but headaches, tension headaches, typically in the front of the head and around the eyes. They're not like migraine sufferers. They won't have it run their whole day. It's often treatable with Tylenol or Advil, and they can usually go on with their day. What else do we have here? The other thing that is very common among depression sufferers is that they have a very much a decreased pain tolerance. And this is also clear in the research that this is a study, I think, from Belgium or Germany, where they studied a group of about 200 folks. And again, we're not talking about wimps here. This is a study group that was fairly large, and folks just experience pain differently when they're depressed. It's something about the communication between the brain and the body that gets screwed up when we're depressed. And so, and I used to describe this to my wife when I was in a deep state of depression, like I felt like I had my nerves on the outside of my body instead of on the inside of my body. Everything that happened to me, you bump into something, you trip over something, something hits you, and it just hurts, and you complain about that. And sometimes family members or those around you get tired of hearing it. They tell you that you make it up. They tell you that you complain too much. They tell you that you're a hypochondriac, and all these things. And it's just not very supportive to do so. If you suffer from depression, these things that I've covered today often happen, and they may be happening to you. For those who support someone with depression, it's important to have some empathy for this, and to try to support the person to get diagnosed for depression. It's important to support the person once they're diagnosed with treatment, and once on a medication for treatment for depression, once in supportive therapy for treatment for depression. Often these symptoms get much better, and often can go away with great recovery. And so that's it for tonight. And you can always reach us at kenosiscenter.com. And on Facebook, just type in Kenosis Center on Facebook and you'll get right to us. God bless you. Have a great night.